we are heading into the tail end of the season now, and with just 3 rounds remaining, it's coming down to the wire of who is going to win the Drivers' Parade Cup LVE Championship. Welcome along to the Hockenheimring. It's time for round 5 of the championship today. We've got the GTE cars in store, in action for you guys today, and joining me as always is Connor Minnis. Hello, Connor. We do appear to be having some technical issues. I'm not quite hearing Connor at the moment, so...
My apologies.
There we go. Hello, Connor.
Sorry about that. Yeah, the racing at Hockenheim is always brilliant. We've seen that on multiple occasions in other championships. So today, I'm sure it's going to be no different to that trend, and hopefully, it will go smoothly.
And we are staying in Germany. We've had, obviously, the Nürburgring GP circuit just a few rounds ago, second round of the championship, and then previous round we had the Nürburgring combined circuit. So these guys are used to the German tracks, and now we've got the Hockenheim circuit for our entertainment. So it's going to be anyone's game, really. We've obviously got the GTE cars last time out with these cars. Sport Team won in a very hectic Nürburgring race, and it was a very, very close run affair between Sport Team and Iridium, and obviously we had that contact at the end of the race. So who do you think could be on top today? Obviously, it's going to be dependent on which drivers the teams have in their cars, and it depends on their skill level, doesn't it?
Back at the previous rounds, there's 2 standout teams at this point. It is obviously being Sport Team and Obsidian. I think those 2 teams especially are going to be as big a threat as ever. They haven't really shown any particular weakness in any of the rounds so far. Obviously, the controversial round at Open Park, but apart from that, those teams have really been on it. And Iridium had a bit of a shocking weekend 2 weeks ago. So they're going to be fired up to make sure that they can claim their playoff place back. They're back down now in kind of the more of the midfield. They're about 5 points behind 4th place, so they're going to be really looking forward to trying to push themselves back up to the top to try and challenge those front 2 ranked teams.
Absolutely, and if we just touch upon that championship battle, we've currently got Obsidian Racing there on 273 points, and that is their biggest championship lead so far of the season. That is 41 points ahead of Sport Team Competition. They're kind of in a league of their own at the moment, with SUV on 164 points. And then from 4th to around 9th, there is 24 points separating those teams. So you could have Error 41, they're currently in 4th. They could suddenly drop down to, say, 9th. And we could have DX Droids, they could be in 4th at the end of this race. So it is, as I said, anyone's game at the moment. And it's going to be fascinating to see who comes out on top. Obviously, as you said, Connor, it's Iridium. They need a good result after a disappointing round last time at the Nürburgring. They finished, let me just see, P16, P26. So yeah, they've got to have an improvement upon that race, and they are having a little bit of bad luck at the moment, aren't they? The past 2 rounds, they've had a bit of contact, which is dropping right down the order.
Yeah, that's been their big downfall. It's been collisions with the cars, and as you said a minute ago, just touching back onto the how close it is to get those playoff places to get potentially up into Division 1. You've got teams like AGT and DX Droids who, for some reason last time, really stepped up. I mean, AGT were down in, I think it was 13th or 14th before, and then they were leading the race for a very long period of time with one of their drivers last time out. So if they can bring that same form, they're going to keep rocketing up these standings, especially if, say, a team like Iridium or SRT have another weekend like they did at Nürburgring.
Absolutely, and it is going to be a case of just who comes out on top and who has the form, and obviously the confidence in these cars. And Hockenheim, it's a very tricky, but also at the same time, it's a simple track to learn, but it can be forgiving at some points, unforgiving at others. So we're seeing Miguel San Martin coming through into the stadium section, towards the stadium section right now, sorry. So in this bit, especially as he comes, you'll see him come down this short straight here, he'll dip through this right-hander and towards the Sachs curve. And this Sachs curve is very unforgiving. If you lock a brake, you'll see here, it cambers in, but on the outside of the circuit, it goes off camber just slightly, and that is enough to tip you into the gravel. So it is going to be a case of who has the, who has learned this track the most and who is on form come race.
Yeah, and this track is the newest addition to iRacing, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So the drivers, with other tracks such as, that we've been to, Nürburgring, they would have driven that probably thousands of times in their career on iRacing. But this, they may have driven the track a lot, but the iRacing model is going to be different to whatever else they've driven. So whoever's put in the most practice, I think we could potentially see a couple of surprise top 10 entries here, especially obviously in qualifying. Only 6 minutes left to go. So I reckon, some of the lower down teams, if those drivers have really been putting in the hours to learn this track properly, I think we could potentially see some of the lower teams scoring a lot of good points today.
Certainly, and we've got teams like TRC and Drive-Thru. They really need a good result. They've failed to get off the mark as the season's gone on, really, and they're kind of just dwindling down. The championship standings, they're both in 15th and 16th. TRC's on 28, Drive-Thru's on 18. And the Masked Devils, the team above them, they're on 75 points. So they've got a long way to go if they're to try and salvage something from this season. In the bottom 12, not the bottom 12, the bottom 5 in this championship, they will drop down. So they've got a lot of ground to make up if they want to stand any chance of survival.
Yeah, this round and obviously the next two at Silverstone and Barcelona, they're going to really need to. Top 10 is going to have to be an absolute minimum, and top 5 is going to have to be where they aim for. And if they don't pick up their act, I really can't see them getting much higher than that. I mean, 18 points so far when you've got people that are safe on like 91 at the minute in Banzoos that using 10th. They've really got to pull something special in these last 3 rounds. It's definitely not impossible. They can definitely pull themselves out. I'm not saying that, but I think they really do need to produce something special, those bottom teams, because they do not want to be going back down to Division 3 to have to do a whole other season back down there just to try and get to where they are now. That's the last thing that they'll want to do.
Yeah, certainly. And obviously, as you said, the last thing on their mind will be having to go endure a season down in Division 3 and, trying to make them trying to get back up into Division 2. It's, especially in this season, it's got to be a case of, trying to just be a solid midfield team or pushing for promotion. And, relegation, it really isn't in the question for these teams. And it's going to get to the point where pressure is going to start playing a part in this. And we could have teams such as Cherokee PS and AVRX Senior. They could really start to, feel the pressure. They're currently 5.7 points behind IDAC, who are safe at the moment, just safe at the moment. So they could really start to feel the pressure, and they could suddenly drop down the order.
Yeah, that whole midfield, as you said earlier, is fourth down to about 9th, separated by less than 20 points, just over 20 points. Sorry. It really is anyone's game. That entire midfield is totally undecided. The battle at the top is looking like I think if Obsidian do well here, and they score in a similar way, I think they are really heading on to win this. I think they're looking very, very strong. But the whole midfield is totally undecided. I think that is brilliant. It makes the championship extend right to the last round to see who's going to get those playoff places and potentially even the immediate promotion. There's nothing to say that S2V or Sport Team might not drop a lot of points. All it takes is 1 or 2 accidents in the coming rounds, and those teams could very easily catch up to them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and we've seen it before in recent races. Really, teams have been high up in the standings, and suddenly they've dropped down the standings, and that could really be the case here. I can't see, with the form that they've shown throughout the season, Obsidian dropping too many points. It seems as if they're sort of untouchable in a sense. They're always at the front. They always seem to run running out at the front, and keeping themselves out of trouble. But whereas other teams, Sport Team Competition, they had one car finish first last time out, and their second car was in P30. So that isn't the kind of consistency that they'll be looking for to try and take the fight to Obsidian.
No, it's the last thing they need is to have a car finish that low down. And if we just take a quick look at how qualifying is shaping up with 2 minutes left to go. So currently, the best time set Bart Horston for Iridium Motorsports 1:33.6, 500ths of a second. He's managed to beat Martin there for Sporting Competizione. Pasquale is third, which is interesting. He's when he last drove GTE, he didn't really qualify all that well. So, that's interesting to see there. They've actually ended the session early there. So here we go. So the top 8 currently: Bart Horston for Iridium on pole. Then 1:33.6 is a brilliant pole lap from him there. Miguel San Martin again in second place. Obviously, the last time those two came together, it all ended in tears at the Nürburgring GP. Let's hope they can get through cleanly. Danny Pasquale in third. For IDAP Competizione, good qualifying for him, with followed up by Joan Gabal for S2V, good qualifying for him as well. They've both done well to reach that second row. Javier Ramos in fifth for DX Droid and Alejandro Codina for Scuderia. 7th and 8th, Jonathan Goetis for Cherokee and Fernando Bourdais for Sport Team Competizione. 9th, then Carlos Marin Casas for Cherokee. 10th, Fernando Alcalea for Escuderia as well, their second car. 11th, Ivan Alfimora, and 12th, Ivan Casanova for Obsidian. Bit of a slow qualifying for Obsidian today, not quite where they want to be. But 13th, Diego Casandiera for STV as well, the second car. Augustin Veron Blanco, 14th, followed by Mark Hegal for Carbono in 15th, and the second Obsidian car in 16th, Daniel Galapinso. Sergio Bora in 17th, followed up by the second Iridium driver of 18th of Eddie Bestwick. He's going to want to have qualified a bit higher. Danny Ramirez 19th for AGT and Salva Huskar for AVR Xena in 20th. Marco Prada 21st with driving for Banzo Esports, and Jose Dominiquez in 22nd for AVR. 23rd and 24th, Borja Garcia for Mass Devils and Eduardo Alvarez Urate in 24th, for SLT. You then got Alex Hamida, IDAP Competition, the second car for them. They're really spread out across the grid. That's going to be interesting to see how he can get back up through the grid. Adrian Dominiquez for Era 41 SRT, 26th. Again, the second car a lot lower than they would want to be. Daniel Nadal Mayogas for DX Droids, again, 27th. Alberto Pereira for AGT, 28th. Carlos Cabella in 29th. And Sergi Perez for Drive-Thru in 30th. Samuel Rendell in the first TRC car is 31st and followed up by Aurel Torrenieta in 22nd.
So it's the drive-throughs, the TRCs at the back. Once again, they will have hoped for a better result than that. But you can see there a few of the cars currently on the grid with the pace car ahead of them waiting to start the race. But as you mentioned, Connor, an Iridium car and a Sport Team car on the front row in the past 3 rounds. Them two teams have made contact in each of the past 3 rounds, so it could history repeat itself?
More than possible. We've seen it on about 3 or 4 different occasions. These two teams do not like to race each other. Obviously, the first time being in the very first round at Nürburgring. Last corner, Sporting Team sends it up the inside and costs Iridium Motorsports the win on track. So, and then obviously in the other rounds, similar story, flipped as well, of course. So it's not looking good if you look back at their history between the two teams. But again, this is a totally new race, new track. There's nothing to say that these guys won't be able to take it all the way to the finish. Let's just hope they all make it.
Yeah, let's hope indeed. And looks like most of the cars are on the grid now, so we will just wait. You can see that the safety car has set off that beautiful looking Porsche car, and the race cars will follow behind. So we'll wait for that good looking Iridium car. It's a very interesting livery indeed, that nice looking navy colour on that BMW, the very large BMW compared to the other GTE cars, of course, on the grid. And you can see that coming through the Sachs curve ahead of the race start, and you can see the pace car just peeling off into the distance, and it will pull into the pits, and Bart Hosner will lead the pack to the line. And as soon as he puts his foot down, the rest of the drivers will follow along. So when is he going to pull the pin to start round 5 of the Drivers' Parade Cup LVE? Bart Hosner has gone very early indeed as they head round the final corner, and he's let all the drivers behind shuffle along and, you know, make up the moves themselves and sort everyone else out. And he's it's working. If it is, I can only apologise for what has just happened in the first 15 minutes of the race. Discord had a bit of a moment, and it looks like it has fixed itself. I'm not sure if we've got Connor back. Are you there, Connor? No, it doesn't look like we've got Connor at the moment, so it is just going to be me for now. But at the moment, it is Bart Hosted currently in the lead. He is currently leading the race from Miguel San Martin by 3.3 seconds. And then Cadena is in third. He rounds off the top three, 8.2 seconds behind Bart Hosted. So it's as it was with the top two currently 15 minutes into the race. And I'm just trying to rack my brains because obviously I've been trying to sort out the technical difficulties that we've been having, so I haven't been able to keep up with what is going on in the race. So I'll just have to gather my thoughts and obviously catch up with what has been going on. We're currently on board with Alejandro Cadena, who is being chased down by Joan Guibao into the hairpin. You can see how close it is there, from third down to around 7th or 8th, and it's nose to tail really. And is Joan Guibao going to look for a move? Here's Fernando Borda in 6th place. He's defended from Alfimov in 7th. The Sporting Competición car defending from the Carbona Waka Esports team car. That is the Ferrari trying to attack the BMW, and he isn't currently able to make a move yet. You can see then coming through the Sachs curve, Ivan Alfimov is trying and looking. You can see just how close he's got in that final section of the circuit. And we're on board now with Ivan Casanova as they come round to end another lap then of round 5 of the Drivers Regular LVE Championship around here at the Hockenheimring Grand Prix circuit. This beautiful circuit that has made for some great races, especially F1 races over the past few years. You think back to 2018 and 2019, those races were, well, classic races really. And we'll have a look here and see if Eddie Beswick, has he made a move for 9th place? Oh, he's made contact around the final corner, and that could be a penalty heading the Iridium driver's way after the race. Connor, I'm not sure if you can hear me or not, but if you can, what did you think of that contact there?
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can hear me now.
I can. Welcome back.
Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, that was very unfortunate. I think he didn't. I kind of just caught the very tail end of that incident. It just looks like he didn't expect the driver in front of him to dive into the pits. He just kept going forward, and I think that is going to be seen as a racing incident. Personally, I think he moved to the pit lane very, very late. So I'm not sure Eddie Beswick is full responsibility for that, but we're gonna have to wait and see what they say after the race, I suspect.
Absolutely. I guess we'll just have to obviously see if a penalty comes the Iridium driver's way, but we're currently riding on board with Alejandro Cadena in the first 20 minutes of the race. We're looking back at the replay then. This is Eddie Beswick coming into the final section of the circuit, and he just taps the back of him. So looking from that's Agustin Blanco. It looked like he was heading into the pits. So I wonder if he's just checked up very slightly and braked to try and make the pit lane. You can see how tight the pit entry is there, and how easy it is just to miss it and keep going with the lap. So I wonder if he's just being called into the pits last minute, and obviously Eddie Beswick has not been expecting that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's, as I said a minute ago, I'm not sure it's essentially his fault, but I feel like the blame may be put onto him just purely because he was still driving the racing line, and I don't know, it's a tough one. Incidents like that are always tough to judge where they're actually going to come out. You can see the back of the state of that Porsche. Yes, Alcalá in front. I'm not sure what's happened to him, but he looks like he may have rolled the car a couple of times. The state of the front and the rear, but oh, that's Oriel. Sorry, Oriel Torrente. So he's been lapped. My apologies. He looks like he's been rolled over a couple of times for drive-through. That's the worst case scenario for them. Obviously, sitting down in last place in the championship.
Yeah, their luck just doesn't get any better as he pulls into the pits, and this will either be trying to fix the damage or obviously retiring from the race. And we're seeing the battle for third. It's come down to 3 cars at the moment. We've got Cadena, he's being chased down by Gibao and Casas for the final podium position, and you can see 3 BMWs in the space of a few seconds, and it's going to be very close to see as you head into the final 20 or so minutes of this race who was going to come out on top in this battle for third.
All it takes is a very slight mistake for one of these drives and they'll be put out of contention. The field is so close in this top 10. So I think, you know, as long as they drive cleanly, I think this could potentially go right down to the final couple minutes. Also, of course, who's on the fresher tyres, who's been looking after their car better. You know, there's so many different factors that could potentially decide who gets this last podium position. Just quickly onto the front two, however, Bart Horston pulled a 4.3 second gap back to San Martin, so he is storming away in the front. I'm just going to go on the replay here of Jose Dominiquez in 21st. We'll see what happened to him. There's a car around in front of him. It's interesting. So he's now gone I'm guessing up into 21st. We'll get to see who that was. I think that may have been Para. I think he's now down in 24, so he's dropped about 6 positions. So there's people going off all over the place.
Just seems like these guys have, you know, maybe used a little too much of their tyres. I am not fully aware if they have pitted. We obviously missed the first. I assume they haven't. We obviously missed the first 15 minutes of this race, and I will just once again, you know, give my deepest apologies for that. It was something completely out of myself and Connor's control. The race started and suddenly we got 2 frozen screens and no audio whatsoever, and it appeared that Discord had briefly gone down, and fortunately it has come back up again, so we are able to commentate this race for you, and it looks like a very exciting race indeed. And it's a shame that we've missed quite a large portion of the race so far. But you can see this battle for third is raging on. We're on board, as you can see, with the Cherokee car of Carlos Marin Casas. Currently sat in 5th place. He is chasing down Juan Gibao and Alejandro Cadena for that final podium paying position. And it's going to be interesting to see who will come out on top. Obviously, as you said, Connor, it's going to obviously depend on who's been, you know, helping out their tyres the most, who's been fuel saving perhaps the most. And it's obviously going to come down as well to the pit stop that, you know, entails in this race.
Yeah, I mean, those 3 that are fighting, they could really do with that 3rd position. We've got Casas down in 5th for Cherokee, and then they're in a relegation place at the minute. And then S2V currently sitting 3rd in the championship. They could really do with trying to pull away from Aero 41 to secure that immediate promotion. So you've got 2 teams here fighting for that top, those top 3 positions that really need those points. I think Cadena as well. I believe he's driving for a Scuderia, who's you know, they're sitting in 5th. They're in the final playoff place at the moment. So all 3 of those teams are in desperate need to solidify where they are, and obviously in Cherokee's case, to get out of that bottom 5.
Absolutely, and we're seeing here, is Carlos Marin Casas going to look for a move? Not quite, but here we are. Ivan Alfimov for the Kabonawaka esports team into the hairpin. Makes a beautiful move on border. That is one of the sports team competition cars getting overtaken. So is he going to try and fight for this position as we come towards the Mercedes section of the Hockenheimring? And he's not going to put up a fight as of yet. I wonder if he'll just bide his time and maybe wait until we get to that long straight once more to try and make a move into that sharp hairpin. That is obviously the main overtaking opportunity on this track, and you know, Alfimov really made the most of it. You can see here, pulled out early, coming through the parabolica, late on the brakes, was given plenty of room indeed, and just took that position with ease.
Yeah, Sport Team didn't seem to really challenge him for that position at all. Didn't really put up any sort of a fight. But we're going back on to the battle for third now. So you got Casasto in fifth, then obviously Gibao and Cadena respectively in fourth and third. A little bit of a gap now to Cadena, just under a second. Definitely not out of range, but I think we've got the first of the Obsidian cars coming into the pits potentially as he's retiring. Of Ivan Casanova, who of course drops down the order. So I think some of the front runners are yet to pit. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, I can't guarantee that. That might be wrong. I could be totally out here. But just judging by the order, I think a lot of the leaders haven't pitted yet. So we'll have to wait and see at what lap they come in, or at what time they come in, I should say. But Horston's still managed. He's still building that gap. It's not really being held. It's now 4.8, nearly 5 seconds back to San Martin. It's just not what we were expecting. San Martin has been one of the quicker drivers for Sport Team this season. Cadena is a very long way behind. He's 12 seconds behind Martin. So yeah, I can't see anyone else challenging those front two unless something drastic goes wrong.
Absolutely. We're currently on board with the race leader Bart Horston at the moment. He's just chilling out front in his Iridium BMW by himself, and just building up that gap, as you say. When we joined back after that brief outage, the gap was around 3.3 seconds, I believe. So he's got that up by around 1.7 seconds, and that is in the past 8 or 9 minutes. So he's bridged quite a bit of a gap, and you can see Alejandro Cadena using all of the track at turn 1. But yeah, about Horston, he's just putting in some fast lap times and bridging that gap from Miguel San Martin, sorry, and I wonder if he's just thinking back to Nürburgring GP the last time those two were very close in the closing stages of that particular race. I wonder if he's just thinking back to what happened then, and I wonder if he's just pushing his BMW to the limit just to try and bridge that gap early on, so he doesn't have to worry about potential contact later on in the race. And I wonder if he's just easing the pressure for the Iridium team. Eddie Beswick, he's currently in 9th place, so he's made a good start from lower down the grid, so it could be a good result for the Iridium team. Spot Team, obviously, they're going to have a good result. They're currently running 2nd and 7th, and then Obsidian, they're kind of nowhere to be seen in this race. We've obviously seen Ivan Casanova, he pitted a lap or two ago from the top 10 positions, I believe, but we're seeing Daniel Ramirez, one of the AGT cars, looking to the outside, and he's like, oh so close there. They nearly made contact in the Porsche and the Ferrari, but Daniel Ramirez has to prevail that position and remain in 14th place in this. Obviously, the battle's going all the way down the field, Connor.
Yeah, Obsidian are really struggling. I'm just wondering whether it's the car choice, because I think all of the top 5 are all BMW, if I'm not mistaken. So I think potentially they might be struggling with that car around here. But yeah, Obsidian strangely out of character for the championship leaders, who are, to be honest, dominating the point standings at the moment and have been in a very prominent feature in every single race this season. But so far in this one, their highest run is Galipinenso in 13th. So Obsidian is really nowhere to be seen, which is kind of a big shock coming into we're well over the halfway point in this race with only 14 minutes to go.
And we've just seen another couple of pit stops there. Torrente, he's in the pits. He's not coming back out after that damage, but we just saw Borda having a quick stop for fuel. Hamid is currently in the pits as well. And Borja, he came out of the pits just a few moments ago. So we are starting to see these guys take to the pit lane for their stops of fuel. And we're seeing Bart Horston come through the Sachs curve. This is the final section of the lap. Is he going to pit now? Are we about to see the race leader, who has led every lap of this race so far, pit? No. So he carries on. So I wonder, is Miguel Martin, is he going to pit? He isn't. So the top 2, they carry on. We look then to the rest of these runners, and they carry on as well. So I wonder if they're just biding their time to come into the pits with only a few more moments remaining. Obviously, there'll be around 10 minutes or so remaining, I assume, when they pit. just to obviously have that low fuel and, really pump them fast laps in rather than, pit now and obviously have an overfueled car and a very heavy car to deal with.
Yeah, they're looking like they're going to do well here. Obviously, with only 12 minutes to go, they may have already pitted earlier on, but we are genuinely unsure about that. So if they don't pit at all, we are very sorry for getting your hopes up. However, it's totally out of our control, as Adam said earlier. But at the minute, the battle for third is still right on. If you've got Casas, going down the inside and forces the about out wide. See here, he's still side by side coming down into the Mercedes section. Is he going to force it again? No, give him the space this time. They're still side by side coming down into the Mercedes section.
They are fighting tooth and nail, and they will come into the stadium section still side by side. This is Gilbao and Casas running in fourth and fifth, and it's Casas who prevails in P4 then. So that is a strong move from the Cherokee car, and they kept that battle going for as long as they could.
That was a brilliant fight. We're sort of just sliding out that second part of the final sections here, using all the curve possible in that BMW. It's allowed though Alcalá to get away. So you can see a replay here of when the move started. I think coming out of the Mercedes section down into the stadium. Look at that, right all the way side by side there, just kind of falling away and lets him slot in just through that corner you do not want to take too wide. You can see he's right on the camera, right on the gearbox of him there. You're going to see in a minute as well how much he slides coming out of this second corner. He turns in, he's just cuts to Eddie Beswick there, but he's, I think that's Eddie Beswick in the pits, so he's come in. Yes, that is him in the pits, he's in 12th still, so he's dropping down now. It's going to be interesting to see the drivers around him who has and hasn't pitted yet.
Just looking at the timing screens at the moment, and it looks like the top 11, they are still yet to pit. So we haven't missed the pit stop phase. We've obviously seen just them and Eddie Beswick for Iridium. He's come out of the pits just then, and we're on board now with Carlos Marin Casas. Once again, the battle that is seemingly heating up now for P4. Cadena, he's sort of heading off into the distance after that long, two-section long battle that Casas and Gilbao had in this section that we are currently at. Speaking of, and you can see here, there's 1, 2, 3 BMW cars, as I mentioned before. And this is Bart Horsten. Bart Horsten pits, and Miguel Martin, you can just see behind, he pits as well. So it's going to be down to who gets the faster pit stop, and this is going to be intriguing to see. Can Miguel San Martin make up any time in the pit box? Bart Horsten, he pits, he stops. We're expecting around a 7 or 8 second pit stop time. Where is Miguel Martin then? Miguel Martin right behind him. Bart Horsten leaves the pits 8.38 seconds. So he retains the lead as expected. Miguel Martin quite close behind, just looking at the gap there, around 5 seconds. So the gap hasn't changed too much. 5, 6, 4 seconds now. The gap is now 4 seconds. It's dropped a second or two in that pit stop phase. So Miguel Martinez made around 8/10 from that pit stop.
Yeah, they've got obviously Gilbao and Alamoff in front of them who haven't pitted yet, of course. So Horsten is still leading this race once those guys come in for their pit stops. But yeah, they potentially may get held up if they stay out for too much longer, and that will definitely close the gap that Horsten's been able to build up if they do get caught up in any traffic.
Absolutely, and he's around 14 seconds behind, so unless these guys hold out for a few more laps, I don't think Bart Horsten will get held up by them, so he won't need to worry too much. Gilbao pits, and so does Alfimov. So these two come into the pits then, so Bart Horsten will retake the on-track lead of the round 5 of the LVE Championship at Hockenheimring with just 8 minutes to go. And this is going to be a very close and intense battle in the pits. Alfimov and Gearbell who will come out on top in that particular battle, but you can see there we switch back to the Iridium driver Bartos, and he retakes the lead, and Miguel San Martin will retake P2. Cadena, looks like Casas has closed up quite a lot in that pit stop phase.
Yeah, he's cut that gap all right the way down. And it seems to be that he's almost dropped him a little bit. He's not quite sure he's in slipstream range, so this is now potentially a two-horse race for third position if they carry on, obviously, respectively with pit stops and all that to go yet. But you've got, just quickly on Obsidian, they've now got Van Casanova up in 8th, so at least he's running in a fairly high point scoring position. But then Galopinso is still in 16th. That's really not where they need that second car.
Yeah, it certainly isn't, and they'll be hoping that something goes on, particularly in this battle that ahead of them for P3, that perhaps elevates them a couple of positions. We're seeing Casas getting very close to the rear bumper of the BMW there of Alejandro Cadena. And we saw coming down the straight, Casas got very, very close. And I thought, I was anticipating him trying to make a move to the inside, but he thought better of it, obviously. And we've got a lapped car ahead of this battle for third. I hope he gets out the way. Oh, he's just holding them up a little bit there, and he dived out the way last minute, and I thought that was going to end in tears.
That was a lot closer than Cadena would have wanted. But look at that. Casas is now right on this bumper. He's really, really close to the back of him. Look at that, using all the runoff in turn 1 to try and escape Casas behind him, Cadena. But he's still holding it. He's got Gibao has now closed right up again. I think that lap car really affected Casas more than Cadena, because Gibao is now heavily in his slipstream.
Absolutely, and this battle for P3 has started to heat up a little bit more. The oven has been turned up just a fraction more in the final 5 minutes of this race, and if you look at the timing screen now, the gap between Bart Horsten and Miguel San Martin is now 3.8 seconds, so it has dropped just a touch. And will the Sport Team Competición car be able to try and close that gap to the Iridium car? We're on board with him at the moment. Will we see Bart Horsten ahead somewhere coming through the Sachs curve? You could just see him heading around the Sachs curve, hitting the apex just before Miguel San Martin entered, and you can see him here, the Australian British F3 driver, in real life, of course, coming through the final few corners. And he retains the lead, as he has done. It's been a very dominant drive so far from the Iridium driver, and he'll be hoping to keep this up.
Yeah, with 5 minutes to go, I'd certainly put my money on him. He's looked pretty much untouchable from everything we've been able to watch. San Martin hasn't really had an answer for his pace around here. I think maybe that's down to practice. It could be that there are other commitments or other races yet to practice for, but of course, all credit to Bart. He's doing an incredible job being able to hold such a good driver behind him by that gap as well. This battle for third, though, this is going to go right down to the wire. All three drivers are now right up close to each other. Obviously, Cadena, Casas, and Gibao. The driver that needs this the most is Casas, obviously driving for Cherokee. They're in the relegation spot at the minute, and these other two guys are in playoff places or in immediate promotion. So he is almost really out of place here in the red and grey Cherokee livery, and I think he is going to he's going to be craving that third position.
Yeah, I think we really need to keep an eye on this battle to see what happens, and you can see how close it is between these P3, P4 and P5. Joan Gearbau there, the S2V Academy car, they currently sit in third in the standings, kind of by themselves. So obviously a good result here will just cement that P3 even further in the standings. But yeah, as you were saying, Connor, Casas, he's going to want this P3, even more than the drivers. Well, I say that he'll be desperate for this P3 to try and elevate Cherokee PS out of the relegation places, and we'll just watch Ivan Alfimov is he going to close up to this battle? You can see he's closed in quite a lot in the past 10 minutes of this race. And there's a little bit of lag going on in the background there, but the Carbanovaca esports car, he will be hoping. You can see he uses all the tracking a little bit more at turn 1. What can he do from P6? Can he close up to the guys in front, or will the guys behind close up to him? We can see then as we come onto this very long straight towards the Parabolica and down through towards the hairpin, is Casas close enough to make a move? It doesn't look like from that shot, but obviously we'll get an answer here. He's not quite, so we're going to have to wait a couple of more laps to see if he can respond.
Casas is definitely looking aggressive. He broke so late there. He got right up onto the rear of Cadina's car just to make sure he knew that he was still there. He was still a threat. The second sporting team car, Fernando Borda, he's a little bit out of position. 7th isn't too bad, but he would definitely like to catch up and try and finish in that top 5. With 2 minutes left in this, I really can't see him being able to do anything drastic unless there is, of course, contact between the fight for 3rd between Cadina and Casas in the battle. If things get desperate, anything can happen, so do not write any of these drivers off yet.
Absolutely not, and there'll be a couple of laps to go in this race, I believe. So, Casas, he wouldn't want it to go right there, and it looked like he was getting so close to Cadina, and that might have ruined his run just a tad, but you can see how close it is. The gap is now 3/10, and he needs to keep right on the rear of this BMW, the Plus G Scuderia car. Is he going to be close enough to make a move into turn 2? Not quite, so he's going to have to try and keep right up to the rear bumper of Alejandro Cadina. We're looking back from the Plus G Scuderia BMW car. Is Casas close enough? You can see closing through the Parabolica. Is he going to shift to the inside? He is. So we're seeing a move for P3 then. Casas, he dives to the inside with just 1 minute remaining on the clock. Cadina brake checks. Sorry, Cadina checks up at the apex of the hairpin there and had to check up, otherwise he was going into the back of Casas. But what a crucial move for the Cherokee car. And is this battle going to carry on? It looks like it is. You can see Gearbau, he's getting all up close to Cadina now for P4. So it's going to continue into this final lap of the race.
Cadina made a pretty big error there. Gearbau is right in his gearbox, and look at Casas. He's already pulled a little gap. He's not really in danger unless he makes a mistake here from Cadina, but Cadina has to watch up behind him now. Gearbau could potentially demote him to 5th.
I think Cadina could be in danger of losing out P4, as you say, Connor. We've got Juan Gearbau. He's all over the rear of the Plushie Scuderia BMW, and it could go from bad to worse for Alejandro Cadina. You can see here, come through turn 1. This is the final lap of the race. It's all as it was in P1 and P2. Bart Hostin still leads. Gearbau looked to the inside into turn 2 there, but thought better of it. He's just going to tuck back in to the slipstream. Is he going to be close enough? We're looking back as we were a lap ago from the rear bumper of the Plushie Scuderia BMW car. Is Juan Gearbau close enough? It doesn't look like he's going to be. He looks to the inside. Is he going to brake late? Not quite close enough. So that is the biggest overtaking opportunity of the lap done, but we're riding back on board with the man who has led pretty much from start to finish. Obviously, apart from that lap, that others were out of sync in the pit stop phase, but we're seeing Bart Horsten. There's just a few more corners to go. He needs to keep it clean and tidy as he comes into the stadium section through the final sector of the lap. And it's going to be a long anticipated on-track victory for Iridium Motorsports. They've came so close in the past few rounds, but yet so far away. Bart Horsten, he takes the checkered flag for Iridium Motorsports. Followed 4.7 seconds was the gap at the checkered flag by Miguel San Martin. He comes across the line. Another good result for Sport Team Competición car. And what a result for Cherokee PS. Carlos Marin Casas flashing the lights. Very happy that Alejandro Cadina just gets to the line ahead of Juan Gearbau. And we're seeing Eddie Beswick been a good result for the Iridium team, I must say. Both cars in the top 10 positions, so that will elevate them nicely against their rivals in the standings. Diego Castañera for S2V. Then we've got Sergio Borja. He comes across the line to finish 13th. Agustin Verablanco for Banzu Esports crosses in 14th. Daniel Pienso for Obsidian. That's not a good result for the current championship leaders. That will put a big dent. He finishes at 18th. Eduardo Alvarez Urate for Era 41. They're currently sat in 4th in the standings. So they would have liked for a better result, that's for sure. AVR Xenia Salva, and you can see Bart Torsten delighted with that result, and is that his teammate Eddie Beswick. So the Iridium boys really having fun there. Really happy with their results, and I must say I don't blame them one bit.
Brilliant driving from both of them. I think their Horson led it convincingly, had that race under wraps from the first corner by the looks of things. Never really came under any sort of pressure. And Eddie Beswick had a brilliant drive from less than amazing qualifying. I think he definitely pulled it out of the bag to finish P10. That's a great drive from him. But I think the main story here is that Obsidian finished 7th and 17th for the championship leaders. That is really, really unacceptable to their standards. With their main rivals, Sporting Team Competizione, finishing 2nd and 6th, and obviously their Scuderia finishing 4th and 8th, and then Iridium winning it. The teams that they are challenging, they all beat them. Obsidian are bottom of the pile for the top runners, and that is the last thing they want leading in to the penultimate race of the championship.
Absolutely. I'm just trying to tot up the order and the points here. I believe Obsidian, they will still have their championship lead coming into the next race of the championship, the penultimate round of the championship at Silverstone in the Dallara F3 cars. And you can see the two Iridium boys, two Australians, in fact. So obviously 2 compatriots. They'll be very happy with the results. So let's take a look now at the results. Bart Torsten will be delighted with that victory. The first on-track victory for Iridium Motorsports. He crosses the line in first, followed by Miguel San Martin in second for Sport Team Competition. They'll be happy with their result. Once again, it's Bart Horst and Miguel San Martin prevailing in the GTE cars. Carlos Marin Casas, brilliant result for the Cherokee team. He finishes P3 ahead of Alejandro Cadena and Ivan Alfimov. Brilliant battle, I must say, for P3. Went right down to the wire, as we were anticipating throughout the race. And then Fernando Boda, he finishes in 6th, the second Sport Team Competition car. So it's a brilliant result, both Sport Team cars in the top 6. So they will take a hefty amount of points away from the German circuit. Then we've got the first Obsidian car. A better result would have been needed for them. Ivan Casanova, he's in 7th, followed by Fernando Alcalea in 8th. Eddie Beswick, he comes across the line in P9, so that has been updated since the race checkered flag came out. He finishes ahead of Jonathan Guatisati in P10. Then we've got Diego Castañera in P11, followed by Sergio Borja, Agustin Berablanco in P13, and Borja Garcia in P14. Adrian Dominguez for Era 41 SRT, he rounds off the top 15, and Dani Ramirez in P16 with the second Obsidian car, as you were saying, Connor, down in 17th place. Daniel Galipienso in the number 7 car, and then followed by Mark Arele in P18. Juan Gearbau, I'm very confused by that. I'm sure he was right up at the front towards the end of the race, so I might be able to get a replay of what happened to him. He finishes in P19, followed by Eduardo Alvarez Urate in P20. Then we've got the final few runners. Salva Huesca for AVR Xenia in P21, followed by Danny Pascal for IDAC Competition P22. Then another AVR Xenia car in 23rd place, Jose Dominguez, followed by Alberto Parra and Javier Ramos. P26, Alex Hamida and Marco Prado in P27, Carlos Caballas in P28, Sergi Perez in P29, then Daniel Mayojas in P30. And the non-finishers then, Oriol Torrente, he had hefty damage to the rear of his Porsche car, to the rear wing, of his car, and then Samuel Rendell in P32, a non-finisher for TRC. So it's definitely not what they would have wanted in this fight to stay in Division 2. But what a race we've been treated to there, Connor. And I was just saying before we read out the standings, Obsidian, that gap, they came into this championship with the biggest lead that they've had of the season, and they'll be coming out of it, I'm pretty sure, with a very, very small lead.
Yeah, it's the championship, as I said at the start of this this race, looks like it's in the bag for Obsidian. Well, they have just proved me very, very wrong. This is now anyone's game in that top 3, realistically. There's nothing to say that this won't happen to Obsidian again, and if it does, that's a shocking results for them, to be honest. They've been so strong over the course of this championship so far in all disciplines, and for some reason today it's just unwound for them.
It has. I wonder what's been going on there with the Obsidian boys. I wonder, obviously, something, perhaps you mentioned it before, kind of maybe practice is coming to play or something like that, but they've definitely got to regroup and they've got to bounce back from this poor result. We're just looking there at Carlos Marin Casas' move for P3. That was a fantastic overtake into the hairpin, late braking to the inside, and he got that done and he started to pull away as well. So brilliant result for the Cherokee team, and they'll be very happy with the points that they're coming away from this week, today. Sorry.
I'm just going to watch Juan Gabal here. I wonder if he goes off somewhere. I mean, that's a lot of time to lose just at a spin to finish 19th. I'm very, very interested to see why, or unless potentially he has a penalty during the time that we weren't able to watch it. He may have gone off track, or maybe he had an accident with someone else that cost him a big chunk of time in penalty points. So that could potentially be it. Unfortunately, I don't have that information currently, but I reckon it's probably a penalty.
Looks that way because he's No, he hasn't made contact and he hasn't spun out. So we got very close indeed. And he did make contact there, so I wonder if perhaps he has had one too many incident points.
That is a very clear off track there.
That is a big off track there. And he made contact.
He tried to spin Cadena across the line. It looked like he properly just didn't. He didn't even try and avoid him. He just basically tried to drive through the back of him.
Yeah, he made contact with the rear end of that BMW. So I wonder if he's had perhaps an excessive amount of incident points, and that's dropped into 19th place. So it's going to be very, very disappointing then for him. I'm just looking at the timings now, and it's saying he dropped to P15, P19. Sorry. So I wonder what happened there with Hange Bauer. He'll be very way confused at what happened there. I wonder if he did have too many incident points, but obviously I'm sure we'll find that out after the race. But I think for now we will have to end that there, and we'll just look back at some of the highlights that we presumably missed. This would look like lap 1 start of the race. All these drivers, look at the background there, all them drivers off at the hairpin. Danny Ramirez looking to the outside and then switch to the inside coming into the Mercedes section. That was a beautiful overtake on a couple of cars, but definitely been fighting back there, the Porsche car, but he gets it done. So that is a perfect overtake for him. But I think for now we will end that there. There is a possibility of having Bart on for an interview, so we might just wait a couple of minutes to see if we get him in now. But yeah, Connor, the takeaways from this race, obviously Obsidian, they need to have a better result next time.
Yeah, Obsidian are going to be distraught with that. They're not going to like that at all. Their championship lead has been drastically undone. All their hard work over the last couple rounds, and that's pretty much counted for nothing, just on one bad performance. Obviously, they are still in the lead of the championship, so they are still the most likely to win. But that lead has been drastically sliced. So they're going to need to really put out the bag in the next coming rounds at Silverstone.
Absolutely, I'm really looking forward to Silverstone in the Dallara F3 cars. We saw what a race it was a few rounds ago at Alton Park, but for now we will leave that there. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I can only apologise for the issues that we suffered early on in the race, but hopefully that won't happen again. But yeah, thank you for watching. Connor, it's been a pleasure as always to commentate alongside you, and I'm really looking forward to the next race. And thank you everyone for watching, and see you soon. Bye for now.